Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and what time it is where you're joining me from. If you happen to be in the same time zone as myself, this is Johannesburg Central African time. So we'll say to you on this beautiful, sanitized, sanitary Sunday, good afternoon, good people. I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to Speak It with Zoliswa, where we get to talk about anything and everything that has to do with the mindset and anything else really that you would like to talk about today. So today's topic is flash that shit. Flash that shit. I am so curious to hear what you thought when you came across the subject line of today's session, which is flash that shit. The first time that I had a bang of the word shit in my life was, welcome everybody that has just joined us, was, I think I was between the age of 8 and 10 years old. I was still a child. My mother wouldn't swear or use words that are like swearing, and I thought that shit was a swear word at that time. So I remember I had just done my hair with Rhoda Spectra. So we used to use Sheen Straight and Black before. And so the Sheen straight part, the straight part of the Sheen would relax the hair. It would stretch it and make it longer and smoother and easier to comb. And then the black part would be the dye. So it was a combo of a Sheen product that straightens the hair and then it dyes it. Then Sheen was out of the way now. So we had moved over to a new product which was called Rhoda Spectra. Now, Rhoda Spectra didn't have the dyeing part. It didn't have the dye. So the hair would just be like ginger in color after you had done your hair with Rhoda Spectra. It would be longer. It was said that it's an upgrade from Sheen Straight and Black. So it means that there's something better that it did, but it just left, at least my hair was left looking like well, I didn't like it. The color was just like a reddish color, which didn't go well with my skin complexion. And so I stole two rands at home. Now, if you want to know the value of two rands back then, it was about 35 years ago or so. So imagine how much it is now to do your hair. Let me just acknowledge people that are here first. Remember, this is an interactive session, so this is where we comment. We don't just sit and listen, but we comment, right? Love Tonton says, it's a good afternoon for me. Good afternoon indeed. Then it happens that you are in the same time zone as myself. Good evening, good morning to all the other people. I acknowledge that we have people joining us from all over the world. So, two rands, what it was back then. If I pay about 400 rands to do my hair, and if that is the amount that I pay and I still get change, so imagine that it was an equivalent of 600 rands. That was the two rand back then, because I remember that with the two rand that I stole from home, I bought Go Black. Go Black was now a dye of the day, and I wanted to still have the effect of the Rhoda Spectra, but because people were laughing at me with all of this ginger hair, I wanted to dye it. But I didn't say to my mother that I would love to have my hair dyed because I didn't know she couldn't afford it. But something in me, when I saw the two rand, said, just get the two rand and do the deed. Do what you need to do with the two rands. So I bought Go Black, and I started doing my hair. Now I was scared that when I wash this hair at home, they will ask what is happening. They're going to see this thing. I didn't finish. I just applied a little bit of it. I didn't finish, and I left my hair like that. So with the rest of the money, now 2 rand was a lot of money. I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest. And so I decided to spoil the other kids, my peers. So that I was a people pleaser. Remember, I used to be told that I'm ugly, and other children used to mock me, and so I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be loved by other people, and I did things so that they could love me. So I used the money that I had stolen at home to buy them chips and sweets and amaguinya, these are fat cakes, and oliva, which were so unnecessary. So that's what I did with the money. Now, among my friends, there was another friend called Zoliswa. We shared the name. She's still alive. She still has the name. So Zoliswa decided that this is nonsense. She's not going to take this. She's related to my family, and she holds the view that she has a right to come and report me. So she came to report me. Now, my mother had become aware that 2 rand was missing, because 2 rand, if you think of an equivalent of a 600 rands and how much it will take you towards month end if you are somebody that takes a taxi to go to work. So she was going to use this 2 rands for transport to go to work up until the end of the period, up until she gets her next paycheck. And there I decided that I'm going to steal the 2 rands and do something that was not necessary, which at the end of the day, I couldn't even do because I was scared that I was going to get caught. Lapton says, I remember desiring shoes for 1 rand. Just imagine, shoes for 1 rand. 1 rand was somebody's salary at that stage. So Zoliswa came to report me. And when she comes to report me, my brother has already been in trouble, because my brother was 7 to 8 years older than me. He was smoking already at that time, and everybody had decided at home, that's my grandmother and my grandfather, including my mother, that he has to be the one that took the 2 rands because he wanted to buy cigarettes. And so I kept quiet. I mean, it's his fault. He's gonna have to grin and bear it. So when Zoliswa came to tell, my mother was livid. She waited for her to finish the story, and she said, meaning, thank you so much, my child, for letting me know. Zoliswa left, and then I was called into the house. Hey, my mother was livid. She said, bloody shit. You? For somebody who has never used some kind of a swear word like that to me, she said, bloody shit. I got so scared. Look, I was beaten one day, Amber. I was beaten on that day. And from then, I associated the word shit or bloody shit with something that should be taboo, something that should never be done, something that I should stay away from completely. I was in trouble. Yes, big trouble coming your way. Indeed, I was in big trouble. So from there on, I just got scared when I hear of the word shit. I stayed away. It was taboo. It was something that had to be far away from me. I wouldn't associate myself with it at all. Up until much later, at a later stage, when I just decided that we need to revisit the whole thing about having words that are taboo or things that we cannot talk about, because everything is about association. We associate certain things, certain emotions, certain beliefs to things that are around us. Like, you can't use the word sex openly, you can't use the word shit, you can't use all of these words that when you use them, people frown and they roll their eyes and all of those kinds of things. So I got to a space when I said, why? What is it? What does it mean? Who? Then I realized that there's actually a lot of it that is sitting there in my life, which I don't want to touch. Why did shit have to be bloody though? Can you imagine? I don't know why, but I associate it with being bloody. I just associate because I know what it meant at that stage to her. And how many times do you feel that the situation that you are in is shit? Now imagine if it is shit that is bloody. Yeah. Okay. I realized that there is so much shit in my own life and I need to deal with it. Now, I just want you to imagine how we were talking about shit on a Sunday afternoon after your several colors Sunday food, but it is necessary, and stay with me. You're going to get where I'm taking you with this. So imagine that somebody comes into your driveway and break a bottle or throw broken glasses on your driveway and leaves and not deal with the mess that is there. They just do it, whether they did it deliberately or it was by mistake, but you wake up and you realize that you actually have all of these broken glasses in your driveway and you need to travel there. You need to come out of the house or you need to get into the house, but the broken glasses are there. And then you decide that you are not going to do anything about it because it's not your fault. You're not the one that brought that shit there. Whoever has done it is responsible, and therefore they must take care of it. Who suffers? And why am I talking about this shit today? Because if you don't flush it, it is going to stink, and who is going to suffer? Because remember, the person that has brought this into your life is not there. Or even if they are there, it's not affecting them the same way as it affects you. It's leaving you with an element of bitterness that affects you. Therefore, it means that you are the person that has to do something about it. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, it was their responsibility when they created the mess. But whose responsibility is it to heal the situation? You might have to flush it yourself. And remember that when you flush the shit, the bubbles of water are gonna come up. And so it is going to trigger something new. But it is important that you trigger that new thing and deal with it so that you can move on to a new state that is filled with cleanliness. And the new state that is filled with cleanliness itself may be preceded by the stains that are around Itobi, that are around this sink, if I could put it that way, because you had left that shit sitting there for a very long time. It requires of you to go into certain corners and declutter. Go into those areas and remove everything that is not supposed to be there, because it is for your own benefit. If you're going to start on a new clean slate, you're going to have to wipe out whatever nonsense was there before, which is not applicable to this subject. I remember back in the day, during the days of the chalkboard, the blackboard, it used to be green, guys. I don't know why it was called the blackboard, but it was the chalkboard. And we would have a class of mathematics, for example, and the teacher would have written ax squared plus y over z equals whatever. And the next teacher, who is coming to do physical sciences, wipes away or gets a child to wipe away everything that is on the chalkboard, because it is no longer applicable. He is now going to write about energy. Energy is the ability to do work. Energy can only be converted. It cannot be created or destroyed, because he is about to teach a new subject. He cannot write the notes of the new subject on the slate of the old subject. Otherwise, the whole thing is just going to be messy. It's going to be shitty, in other words. So it is important that if somebody comes into your life and they throw broken glasses at your driveway, understand that, yes, they have done what they have done, but you have a responsibility to remove it, because it affects you to the extent that you want to drive out of that route on that driveway. And if you do drive over those glasses that are broken, it's the tires of your own car that are going to be affected, then it is you that has a responsibility. And when you come to that realization, the onus shift from the person that has caused it to you, because now you have not done what you should have done. You become responsible for the inaction on your side, because it asks you, because it is now an impediment in the way of the things that you want to do. Imagine that there is love. Imagine that we are talking about a situation of love here. There is somebody on the other side of the driveway that wishes to come and bring you this love that you deserve. But they cannot, because you have created this barrier by not removing the broken glasses, by not flushing the shit of what has happened in the past. And therefore, you are suffering. You do not get what you should be getting. You have created this barrier that you are not giving what you should be giving of yourself to the other person on the other side, because you have created this barrier. And for you to receive, or for you to give of yourself, you have to go through these broken glasses. You have to flush what is there. It is stinking, and it is stinking for you. And if you want to create a new slate and see a new life, the responsibility is on you to do something about it. It doesn't matter who has done it. We can find the culprit, and tomorrow we are going to find the culprit when we say whose fault is it. But what are we going to do about the culprit? What if the culprit is not willing to do anything about what he or she has created? Are you going to take your part to the extent that it affects you? Because who knows, it may have happened so that you were born for such a time as this, so that you can weep, so that you are the one that has to clean it. If not you, then who? Because it affects you. You are the mayor of your own city. You are the master of your own life. And therefore, if it is coming to interfere in your own life, you have a responsibility to do something with it. And Glenn says, I can't not be aware of something that I already am aware of. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot unsee what you have seen. Whatever you know, and you may put it on the side there and act as if it's not there. Whenever you look that way, one of the senses is going to remind you that it's there. It may stink, and your nostrils are going to tell you. It may have stunk until it finished stinking, but when you look that way and you see ischama, you are going to be reminded that it was there up until you clean it. So you have a responsibility to do this. Tomorrow, on Mindset Monday at 6 p.m., we are going to be talking about chapter 7. It's chapter 7 of 10 of this book, I Serve. I'm trying to get closer to the camera, there it is. So we're going to be guided by chapter 7. Chapter 7 is entitled, Whose Fault Is It? And we're not going to be delving and dealing a lot about whose fault is it. We're just going to try and find the culprit, but we will be looking at how do we resolve the matter. We found the culprit, maybe we decide that the culprit needs to go to jail, or the culprit needs to be beaten, just like my mother did on the bloody shit day. But how do we then solve the situation? Because having the culprit there and having me beaten doesn't change the fact that something needs to be done to prevent the reoccurrence of what has happened in the past, because doing things the same way and expecting different results is called insanity. So we're going to be talking about this. I don't usually tell what the tool is going to be ahead of the time, but today I'm tempted, just so that you keep it in your mind before you come tomorrow. So what we do in the tomorrow, which is at 6 p.m. on Mondays, we bring these little tools. This one is called a notebook. So you bring your little notebook with you, and you bring a pen, because you're going to be jotting down whatever becomes available for you as we are going to be going through that beautiful 45 minutes of insight, of awareness, of evolution of your consciousness. So you bring your pen and your paper, and we are going to be looking at moving from tier to team. TEAR to TEAM. That is thoughts, emotions, actions or inactions, and reality. So we are going to be moving from that to team, which is thinking. I said thoughts, thinking, emotions, actions, and manifestation. So in the context of whose fault is it, we're going to be talking about how do we then move from just watching the reality, when we say it's just my reality, watching it there and looking at whose fault is it, and that person has got to deal with it because they created it, to a space where it says that I have to be doing the active thinking if I want to see different manifestation in this space, regardless of whose fault it is, because it's been there for so long. I have gone through the space of feeling ashamed, or feeling guilty, or feeling angry, or feeling disappointed, frustrated about everything said, about everything that has happened to me. But because I want to move over to the next phase now, I decide to just take action, to take matters into my own hands so that I can create a different reality or a different manifestation, which is what I would like to see for the remainder of my life. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So make sure that you have your pen and your paper at 6 p.m. We are not going to be on Zoliswa Sheshe profile. We will be on Speak It with Zoliswa if you are on Facebook, on Tuned In Conscious Living on Facebook. That's another page. And we're also going to be on Zoliswa TV on YouTube. Set yourself a reminder, get yourself a glass of water, a box of a bar of chocolate, a box of popcorn, a bowl of grapes, whatever it is that you want to have with you, and be ready to spend the 45 minutes with us. So as I said, that the conversation is going to be guided by this book. If you don't have the book as yet and you are in South Africa, we still have a limited stock available at our premises. The book goes for 240 rands, and that is inclusive of the delivery fee, which is complimentary to you from us. And if you are not in South Africa, it's available on Amazon.com, and it will be made available to you either on a paperback format or on a Kindle version, if that's your cup of tea. So see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Our appointment is on. Make sure that you don't miss that opportunity, because from there on, your life will never be the same again. This is the beginning of your life. And I want to tell you now that the best is yet to come. See you then.